What a day. We're doing new things in the FT network. So two things. One, last night we had the Kratz not invited Yankees Diamondbacks game that we ran on playback, and it was great. We did an alt cast. Cam Maben was on, Derek Lewandowski, also Jesse Friedman. We'll do more of those, one a week. But Kratz, I promise, invite coming soon. And AJ, you'll like this. I believe this was our first ever owner interview under the FT network. 30 minutes ago, John Middleton was live at Citizens Bank Park on the Phillies show. We'll show some clips from it later on, but we speak pretty highly of him as someone who represents the game and the ownership voice really well. They should have him do like all of the press. I listened to the full thing. Not only is he just really good, well-spoken, and passionate about ball, he knows ball. That's the difference too. When you hear him talk about baseball, talk about players, talk about scouting reports, talk about pitching repertoire, etc., he knows baseball. So it really helps for anyone like me, a super fan, to connect when I hear someone like this who is talking about how this is everything for him. Screw the money, this is his legacy. And then really going over intricacies of his team, minor league prospects, going over how Roy Halladay changed his whole arsenal. He's like going pitch by pitch, just really, really insightful from him. So I recommend everyone give that one a listen. It's up on their YouTube channel, so check it out later.
Yeah, that's what you want owners to be, right? You want owners to be involved. You want owners to spend money. And you want owners that care. And I think the ones that you see that do that usually do the best. I mean, the Dodgers ownership group is involved. They let Andrew Friedman and those guys run the team the way they want to. You look at, use Jim Crane, for example. He's involved. The Astros have been successful. The Steinbrenners for years were involved, right? That John Henry and his Fenway Sports Group finally got back involved. And now they're got a chance to be good again because they finally decided, hey, we're going to try again and we're going to spend some money. So it's the owners that are disconnected and we know who they are. We don't have to call them out, in West Sacramento or in Pennsylvania, the other Pennsylvania team. But, it is what it is. The owners that care, they try, they do their best to put the best team on the field are usually the teams that have the most success.
Yeah, and we've been critical of Henry over the past few years, rightfully so, but he actually knows ball too. He looks at it in a different way from the interviews I have heard. He doesn't do as many anymore, but he's more of an analytics guy. Middleton is more of a balanced analytics plus scouting. I watch the game, without any numbers in front of me kind of guy sometimes too, which I guess you get with the flavor of the front office with someone like Dave Dombrowski. Anyway, let's get into the lit division in baseball right now. Let's charge.
Charge the Mound.
Holy NL West. Not just the Dodgers, not just the Padres, the Giants too. But let's start with the Dodgers because it was Shohei bobblehead night, AJ. There's people lined up for hours, and I'm not out there, but I saw this on multiple spots, including FT Twitter, which is the best on the planet. Everyone got a bobble. So why are they lined up?
Because, normally I don't think they read the fine print. Normally it's only 10,000, the first 10,000. So maybe they wanted to be the first to get it on eBay. I don't know, but they gave one to the whole stadium. They had how many ever, God bless you. How many ever people Dodger Stadium hold, which is like almost 60,000 or whatever it is, right? So everybody got one. I think, Joe Davis got one, Oral Hershiser got one, Sandy Koufax got one, Magic Johnson got one, everybody got one, right? So I love this. I don't know more teams do this, but this is crazy. These people didn't read the fine print, man. Read the fine print. Or they knew Shohei was going to hit a walk-off and they just wanted to be on Foul Territory Twitter.
Oh, man. I mean, bobbleheads. I don't get the craze for bobbleheads. I don't get why you'd stand in line for everybody getting one. But it was just, you can't write it any different on a bobblehead night. It's not his first bobblehead. It's not his first walk-off. Like, the guy's just doesn't look like Shohei at all, by the way. But that does look like a softball bat. So I wonder if he's going to maybe he's going to be the next torpedo bat guy. Huh? Maybe? No? Somebody?
No. You know what those are called? You know what those were called back in the day? Those were called what? Bottle bats? Weren't they called bottle bats? Because when I played Little League, Bronson Arroyo used to use one. I'd be like, you cheater. Right? Because Bronson Arroyo played Little League. We played in the same Little League, and he used to use a bottle. I thought it was called a bottle bat, and it was like the whole thing was head until the handle. And I thought they were mostly used in softball, right?
Softball, yeah.
And Bronson Arroyo used to use one of those when we were like 12 years old with each other. And I'm like, you cheater. But, I guess it wasn't cheating because nobody knew the difference.
Do you know what changed yesterday's game more than anything? Max Muncy ditching his torpedo bat. He had it
Hitting
for
a
his
double.
first several ABs, and then he's like, screw it, I don't like it. And he hits a gapper double, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and ties up the game. Of course, it was a dream night for Dodger fans. I mean, 52,000 plus. They all get the bobble. Ohtani hits the walk-off. They're talking about it leading up to it. Dodgers are 8-0, and that passes the 1933 Yankees for most consecutive wins after a World Series title to start the next season. There's that changeup heading across the plate from Raisel Iglesias. For example, if you look at that pitch and where it landed, right? It's a changeup. It's a little bit up. It's, it's not over the middle of the plate, but it's coming across the plate. Just correct me if I'm wrong here, right? I'm trying to learn. That's a bad pitch, right, AJ?
That's a bad pitch?
Yeah.
No. That ball's off
Not
the
a bad
plate.
pitch? I know it's
That
off the
ball's
plate, but it's coming across the plate, and changeup's supposed to be a little lower. No, that's a good pitch.
Dude, that ball's knee-high off the plate away. I mean, I don't know what else you want Rafael Iglesias to do. Kratz, tell me that's not a bad pitch at all. It's a pretty good pitch. It's just a guy who is stronger than most human beings and can go out there and hit a ball to left center that carries out at nighttime at Dodger Stadium. And you know what else? Sometimes when stuff ain't going right, the ball goes over the fence when it's not supposed to. You have a 5-0 lead and you don't win the game, with everything lined up. So sometimes it's just not your season, maybe.
If we're splitting hairs, maybe he wanted it lower. I get that. But you can't just I guess you can pitch around them, but there's no cheap home runs at Chavez Ravine at night. There's no way you should be able to, as a lefty who that ball's going away from him, he's able to take that ball out to center. Maybe if he really dives on that ball, and Shohei never dives to the pitch away, he could take it down the left field line. But where he hit that's a joke. That ball could it be a little lower? Yes. We're splitting hairs. It was an unbelievable swing.
Yeah, I'm not slighting Shohei. I'm just asking for a little analysis on what they should have done and how they could have pitched him differently, because he still looks like last year's Shohei. That's the way. Four fingers.
No,
See ya.
he's hitting 300.
I mean, listen, that was a good pitch. Sometimes the hitter wins. Sometimes the hitter wins, man. These guys are good. We used to always say that. You'd strike out and you'd be like, man, I don't know. But then you'd realize these guys are getting paid a lot of money to strike you out too. So they make good pitches sometimes. And sometimes pitchers would come off the mound, and Kratz, I think, would attest this too. They'd make their pitch and a guy would get a hit, break his bat, throw it over the outfielder or whatever. And the pitcher would be like, that wasn't a bad pitch. You're like, no, but that guy's pretty good too. He can hit and he gets paid to hit the ball. So sometimes these guys are just good.
Yep. It's been a magical start to the season for the Dodgers. They're going to go through some adversity at some point, I think. But they've trailed in 6 of the 8 games. They've got a lot of late offense. They are 8-0. Here's a tweet from Blake Harris, who covers the team. Despite being 8-0, it feels like the Dodgers haven't even been close to playing their best ball yet. Trailed in 6 of 8. Starter is yet to pitch into the 6th. And by the way, Snell gave up 5. They were all unearned, but he gave up 5. Mookie missed 3 games. Freddie has missed 5 games. He goes, just wait until they start clicking. Also, they were trailing 5-0 yesterday, AJ, which reminded some fans of last year's epic World Series comeback when they were trailing by 5 to the Yankees. Ben Kasparius, I think, had the moment of the game. Top of the 6th, bases loaded, no outs, gets them out of the jam. He was hyped. We're covering Dodgers and NL West here because we're going to talk Braves later on. We'll get Grant McAuley on to go over how they came up empty here. But, I mean, whoo-wee! That is a really fun way to go to a ballpark. You get a freebie, you get the best player on the planet with the walk-off, and you get the 5-0 comeback.
Yes. What a game. Listen, what a game. I mean, what an incredible – when it was 5-3, they had the bases loaded, the Braves did, no outs. You're like, oh, this game, they're going to win, and the Dodgers are going to lose. And then Kasparius gets out of it, and then Shohei comes up, and Muncy hits the big double in the 8th off. How important – excuse me, Kratz. How important was they didn't quite sneeze, but it was close. But how important was this game to the Braves? It was Iglesias was in the 8th to face Muncy. He was in there to shut it down for Brian Sticker so they could get that 1 on their win column, right? A win. Instead, he gave up the double to Muncy. Then he gave up the home run to Shohei. But as soon as the Dodgers tied that game, it was like, okay, the Dodgers are going to win this game. And then obviously Shohei hits the walk-off.
Yep, exactly. One of our Hammer Territory hosts was like, oh, if you think the first 6 losses were bad, and this was when they were still winning. They were up 5-3, and he goes, if you think the first 6 losses were bad, can I interest you in a 5-0 comeback loss, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, let's move to the Padres. I want to get to the rest of the division here for the next few minutes. Padres are undefeated too, and they took down the Cleveland Guardians. Kratz, they're looking really, really good. Jackson Merrill signs the extension. We talked about it yesterday. He homered right after the extension, makes himself a little richer. He was cool in his press conference too. He's like, yeah, I mean, you know your value, you know you can do even more, but it's like, I want to be in San Diego and I want to get this done now. Also, I mean, he's got a chance to make $200+ million. I mean, 200 versus 350, whatever, when you're that young in your career. I think the point is he fits in perfectly there. They love him, and this team can crank it on offense. They didn't lose much on offense. I mean, I know they lost some pitching. Ha-Seong Kim 2 years ago was a pretty good offensive player. He didn't really do much for them last year. Then he got hurt. So their offense looks really good, and you still got guys in their prime. Tatis should be in his prime. Jackson Merrill already looks like in his prime, unless he's going to get even better than this. But Arise obviously gives you the contact. What do you think about the Padres high-flying, high-speed offense like Tatis stealing home here?
That's one thing. They're running the bases. They're running the bases like they're youthful. And if Tatis can run like this, he creates havoc in that spot in the lineup. They did lose some offense. I mean, they lost Profar's bat last year was kind of big, and they've easily supplemented that. They've easily supplemented that, and they are flying high. I mean, one of the things we talked about was starting pitching. After Cease and King didn't really have great outings, their first outings, they just came back and they're just like, oh yeah, I'll just kind of jump in line and we'll give the bullpen a little bit of time off. And the bullpen's been really carrying them. This is a winning team. Sometimes you watch teams, you watch them after like something cool happens in the game and they're like, whatever. Not these guys, not the Dodgers. Like you can tell they're out there. They have a goal in mind, and they have confidence. And if Jackson Merrill had just waited one more day, he could have been like, hey, I just hit another dinger. You got to give me another $1 million. Like every day I hit a dinger, it's more millions.
Listen, Manny McNuggets, whatever the guy's name is in the chat, that is the super Padres fans that say we hate the Padres. And he called me out when I said that the Padres are stealing more bases than they did last year. Look at the numbers. They're meat. Because the numbers are ridiculous how much more aggressive they're being on the bases than they were last year. So save your drama for someone else that cares, but don't call me out when I'm right, okay? You want to call me out when I'm wrong? I'm fine with it. I'll deal with it, but don't call me out when I'm right, okay? They're being ultra aggressive. They don't think they have the power that they had last year, but what they're doing pitching-wise is what's been carrying the Padres. Look at what they've done pitching-wise. Now, I know the Braves' offenses suck, but still, their bullpen and their starters have been really good. And then the Guardians, whose offense is what it is. But still, to be 7-0 with the way they've started, they're still in touch with the Dodgers. They're going to be in touch with the Dodgers all year. I don't know if they can keep it up. They need Darvish back. They need their bullpen to stay healthy. But it's a fun start for one of the best atmospheres in baseball. I had a friend go to the Padres game for the first time on Monday, and they were like, this is the coolest atmosphere ever. And I was like, yeah, it's an amazing atmosphere what the Padres fans have done to Petco in the way it is around the park. So way to go, Padres fans. Keep it up. And I hope this team keeps it up because I want to see somebody competitive with the Dodgers like everyone else.
AJ hates the Padres. I can confirm
Hate
this.
them.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McNugget, or whatever your name was.
Grimace? All right, so the West is 25-7. Let's also give love to the other non-Rockies teams that care. The Diamondbacks we'll talk more about later because Gallen deserves a few minutes on his own. But the Giants just swept the Astros. Good for them. I mean, the Giants are 5-1 to start the year. It's the best start for them since 2014. Alex Pavlovich, who writes about the Giants for NBC, said best start for them in over a decade. But also, this division has two teams that are undefeated above them. There you go. And that was at the time when they swept. Now, obviously, the Dodgers picked up one more win, so they're 8-0. Padres are 7-0. Giants are 5-1 either of you buying the Giants as a legit playoff team, or do you think they're just off to a nice, cute little start? I've got the Diamondbacks ahead of the Giants for sure. AJ, you?
No, I think it's a nice start. It's good for Buster Posey and his new regime. I want to see former players succeed in their new roles. But I don't think over the long term they can keep this up because of the division they're in, and also because I'm just not sold on their team.
They're pitching and defense. Can they play defense? Can they pitch the entire season? That's what they're built on. They have an elite arm at the top of their rotation. Is that going to hold up? Because if you have to fill in for one of those elite defensive pieces with someone who's not elite, all of a sudden it's kind of the chink in the armor. It's kind of that like underbelly of, are they going to hit enough? But they're going to pick it. They stay healthy, they're going to pick it, and they're going to hang around. And because that plays in San Francisco, and they're doing this on the road in Houston. Like it plays. I don't think they're going to fall a little short of the playoffs, though.
By the way, we're talking about the NL West. Why are we not talking about the AL Central? The White Sox are in first place. I don't know what you guys are looking at. You guys are looking at the NL West. How about the AL Central? White Sox are in first place at 2-4 with every other team in the division, by the way.
Is everyone 2-4? Yeah, exactly.
The whole division is 2-4.
Tell everyone we got to go.
What do you mean? White Sox first place. Playoffs.
Bad loss for Chicago yesterday. We'll get to it. But when we swing back, we'll talk about taking the over forever in Sacramento. Chris Biderman will join us as the A's were smacked around by the Cubs. All right, we're back. Let's talk about Skenes. Skenes was good. First pitcher since earned runs became an official stat to post a sub-2 ERA, 175 plus Ks in your first 25 big league appearances. Also, Dennis Santana looking like maybe the new closer for the Pirates instead of Bednar. What are you confused about, Kratz?
The game is easy. You always look for like a dude who's like, like he's gonna have a clunker. Right now. Him and Zach Wheeler are two of the hottest pitchers on the planet, and they both pitched yesterday. It's like you just don't see a clunker from Paul Skenes. Nobody's giving him that clunker. The last one I remember was that the second time I think the Cubs got to face him, it wasn't even really a clunker. They just got hits. He has been dominant.
True. And I'm mad. I wanted to go to this game yesterday because it was actually doable for me, because it was in Tampa. But it was on at 1 o'clock, so I couldn't go, and it was too hot. And by the way, he has a better ERA now, if in his big league career, by the way, than he did in his college career. Just saying.
So, yeah, so the SEC is just different, and they are better.
So he had a 2.18 career college ERA, has a 1.92 career big league ERA. Just saying.
That is freaking impressive. I mean, he has not had any adversity yet. It is crazy.
Just saying. He's had a better ERA in the big leagues. Maybe they used torpedo bats in LSU when he was, in Air Force in the SEC. I don't know. But I wanted to go yesterday to see him pitch live in Tampa, but this show called Foul Territory got in the way, so I couldn't go.
Are you going to
do it live one time?
Yeah, are you going to take me to a minor league game in Tampa? Are we going to do a show from Tampa? It's kind of closer for us. Should we do one from the ballpark?
Did you just say a minor league game? It's like what's his name? Bob Fisher.
Well, it's at a minor league park, so isn't it a minor league?
Not Bob Fisher. John Fisher said, look at the atmosphere. The Cubs in the West Sacramento A's are playing in front of 14,000 people. Well, what? Well, they should be playing in front of 50,000 people.
Exactly. We can do a cozy FT show in the intimate environment of one of those ballparks.
What if we called the Rays and said, could we do like one of those outfield? We could do the show in the outfield while they're playing.
And sweat.
Talk about some sweat. But I'm not saying call the game. I'm just saying sit in the outfield and do FT while the fans and stuff are around. That'd be awesome.
I'm down.
Nobody knew the White Sox were playing yesterday. That's for sure.
go. Chris Biderman is joining us, covering the A's, senior reporter for the Sacramento Bee. Chris, great to have you on, and welcome to Foul Territory. Welcome to Sacramento Major League Baseball. How were the first few days there? Obviously, you can go over what you saw on the field and what you've been experiencing in Sacramento in terms of the fans receiving this team.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been pretty surreal because I've been, going to River Cats games in different capacities since like 2008, and to see Major League Baseball there has been kind of crazy. But it's been very unique, and there was a lot of excitement. I think the atmosphere was really good, albeit just under 14,000 fans there for opening night, and then you kind of saw the crowd numbers taper off a little bit. You had over 12,000 there on Tuesday, and then over 9,000 there in a matinee getaway day on Wednesday, and things weren't really helped by the fact that the A's gave up the most runs they've given up in their first 3 games of their home season since 1922. So it's been a little bit rough from that standpoint. The wind has been blowing out, and the Cubs have taken advantage far more than the A's did. But it's a real interesting situation. You have, the team that the A's are sharing the ballpark with is the Sacramento River Cats, of course, who are the Giants' top affiliate. And I think the town before the A's got here has been kind of split between Giants and A's, like much of Northern California. And so it wasn't going to be a slam dunk that there were just going to be legions of A's fans coming to Sacramento. And obviously, many A's fans have been pretty disenchanted by the direction of the organization and the decision to move out of Oakland. So it's just a really interesting dynamic, a very polarizing situation, a lot of strong opinions going both ways. And yeah, it's been very unique, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Does it feel like, I know the season's early, but does it feel like the organization, the Oakland A's organization, has really put a bunch of signs up and let the city know, hey, you know what, we're here now, and promoted the team? Or are they just kind of sitting on their hands hoping people come out?
Yeah, so what's interesting is they've partnered with the River Cats, which are owned by the Sacramento Kings and Vivek Ranadive, and the Kings have really handled a lot of the marketing and a lot of the business and ticket sales operations. And so, yeah, there's been a little bit of it, but it doesn't really feel like the A's town, right? Like there are billboards, but they're not everywhere. The A's, of course, did not make Sacramento as part of their team name. They're the only team in North American major sports without a city attached to their name. They're just the Athletics. And so I think some people in Sacramento, rightfully so, are a little bit miffed by that. And I asked John Fisher about that specifically on Monday, the team's owner, and he kind of sidestepped the question, and he said, look, this is an amazing development for Sacramento. There's Major League Baseball here. The Chicago Cubs are in town, without really acknowledging the fact that they aren't really adopting Sacramento. They're not putting it on the uniforms. They do have a patch with the Tower Bridge. That's cool. They gave out hats on opening night that have the Tower Bridge patch on the center of the hat. But there's no apparel you can buy that says Sacramento on it. At least none that I've seen. And I'm not sure if that's going to change or not. But the A's did file for the trademark for Sacramento A's, but they aren't making any apparel with it. So they're not fully embracing it from that standpoint. And I think there are some fans in town who are a little miffed by that, but also the A's have made it pretty clear that their goal is to make this a temporary venue because they have sites on Las Vegas, which, they hope to open that domed ballpark on the Vegas Strip in 2028. We'll see if that happens. Obviously, the A's don't have the best history when it comes to finalizing stadium deals and getting shovels in the ground, but they're optimistic that it's going to happen. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Chris, a couple things before we dig in. One, nice Slave One behind you, whatever it's called now, Lego. So that's cool. I have 2 of those in my house.
Oh, thank you.
So,
thank you.
Sweet touch. Second of all, I played in Sacramento in 2000, and it was a launching pad. So this doesn't surprise me, the run scored. But my real question is they say 14,000 seat stadium. Do you know what the attendance recorded by Major League Baseball was on the first game in Sacramento?
Yeah, it was it 12,019 or something like that?
12,119. So where in the
Yeah.
holy hell are they getting it's a 14,000 seat stadium if on the first game of the year against the Cubs, now against a team that has a national following, right? The Chicago Cubs, they only draw 12,000. The next night I think was 10,000, like you said. And then the third night was not under 9,000, or hold on, I'm looking here. 10,000 the second night. 10,095, and then yesterday was 9,000, I believe. I know it was a getaway day. It was a day game. But where do they keep coming up with this fake number of 14,000? Are they talking the vendors, the clubhouse guys, the bat boys, the bird circle in the stadium? I'm super confused because then they had 9,300 there yesterday. So where do they get 14,000 from? Because I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that I know they have 10,000 fixed seats, and then they have a few extra thousand that they can fit out in right field and right center field in the grass berm area, and they sell those tickets day of for $25. So yeah, I'm not really sure, and I know the A's were putting it out. They put it out over the summer that they sold all of their premium season tickets for the season. They put it out in January that they sold out all of their season tickets. So apparently all the season tickets have sold out per the team's messaging. But you look at the pure attendance numbers of who's actually been in the ballpark, and it would indicate that it's not as successful as the team was talking about beforehand. So I know, look, as I mentioned, the A's are partnering with the Kings in this. The Kings are, Vivek Ranadive has been very vocal about how he wants this to be an opportunity for Sacramento to maybe lure an expansion team, and city leaders and politicians and business leaders have all said the same thing. So I think the messaging early on was, look how much interest there is. Look how many people are buying tickets. And then you see the first three games, they fall flat, not only on the field, but it seems like they fell flat in terms of attendance. And man, if that's what the first three games looks like, you got to be a little bit worried about what it looks like when, it's 100 degrees in the middle of June and July. Are people going to still want to come out, particularly if the team's not winning? And I am optimistic about, what the team is. It's a young, exciting team, particularly offensively. They have not pitched well at all early on. But yeah, I'm with you, AJ, in that, I'm not really sure where these ballpark numbers were going. I know there was a lot of messaging coming from the team side about the season tickets and stuff, and we frankly, the first three games have been kind of a letdown from that standpoint.
You said you've been going in some capacity to Rivercats games since 2008, right? So you've been watching some games. How has the field? Go ahead.
No, I was just I interned for them back in the day, in college and all that. So it's been a trip. But anyway, continue.
How has the field played these three games compared to what you saw otherwise? Is it big leaguers making a minor league park look like a minor league park? Or is this an anomaly and it'll start to get, because once it gets warmer, we know the ball flies even more.
Yeah, the ball definitely flies in the summer months. I will say the wind that they had this week was blowing out towards right center field, which is typically not the prevailing wind. The prevailing wind typically blows in. And so, it was a little bit unique from that perspective. It was pretty cold. It was in the 50s and 40s late in these games the first two nights. So it was chilly, but the ball really carried because of the wind. And as far as the field goes, that's kind of another interesting subplot. I'm sure you guys are well aware the initial plan was to have an artificial surface there because there are 150 some odd games played at Sutter Health Park between the A's and Rivercats. Ultimately, the players union stepped in. They went with natural grass, and they did all they could to have a really regenerative surface that has a super unique injection system when it comes to nutrients and things like that. So apparently the grass is going to be able to bounce back from all the wear and tear. But again, that's another thing we'll have to see in the summer. Is it going to get super baked out in July and August? Is it, are there going to be massive brown spots in where the outfielders are? Those are all really significant questions when you get to the summer and the summer heat. But yeah, I think the ball is going to carry regardless if it's late March, early April. You'll get the wind blowing out to right center field in June and July. You'll get the wind coming in from that direction, but the ball will still carry because of how warm it is. So I do expect it to be more hitter friendly. And we'll see if the A's pitching can combat that at all, because they certainly haven't during the first 3 games.
Are they going to be good? I thought the A's would be good. They picked them kind of as my sleeper team to be. Their number was very low for over-unders.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the over easy because I thought they would be better with Severino and Springs and some of the other guys having another year under their belt. But are the A's going to be good? Because these first 3 games, they look like bleep.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, it's a tough start, and the pitching isn't what they want it to be, and obviously that was the issue for them last year, much more so than the offense. So I think they're going to be better than they've been during the first week of the season. I think we saw, what this team is going to be. A better representation of them, I think, was the first series in Seattle, and then you come to West Sacramento. And, they don't pitch well at all. They allow 35 runs in 3 games, including 18 on opening night, which was the most ever the most in a home opener for a home team since 1925, I think it was. You have a couple records going back 100 years going against the A's in their first series, which is kind of wild. But no, I think they're better than how they've played these 3 games. I think the offense is going to pick up. They have a bunch of good young hitters. There are some question marks defensively, and obviously the big question is starting pitching. But I think they're better than what they looked like these last 3 games, and I would expect them to be in the wild card mix. And I know that's the expectation they set out for themselves. Mark Kotze, their manager, talked about that the expectations are a lot different this season coming in, and they do expect to be in that playoff mix. So I hope for their sake that this is just a slow start, and they pick things up like they did last year when they were 500 after the break. So we'll see how it goes, but they're more talented, particularly offensively, than what they've shown these last 3 games.
Chris, you mentioned the field and how they're sharing it with the River Cats, by the way. No field could sustain 180 straight games of being, I don't care what they inject it with. I mean, but it can't be worse than what was in Oakland, right? When they used to have the Raiders field on it. I mean, they would do a Raiders game and that field was destroyed. It was like playing on concrete. There was no grass. I mean, it was painted green, but the grass was dead in most places and it was just painted green. You had the infield, the lines through the field, the whole thing. So it can't be worse than that, even though it will be destroyed, because you can't play games on a baseball field 180 straight days and not give it a little break somewhere.
Yep, that's a great point, and we'll see how that goes. There was a lot of discussion about that with the players' union and the league when they're sorting it all out and figuring out that they did want to use a natural surface instead of artificial grass, which I completely get, because you don't want to be out there on an afternoon in Sacramento where it's 110 degrees on an artificial surface. That just doesn't sound like any fun for anybody. So yeah, I mean, that we'll see. There are a lot of things are going to reveal themselves as the season goes on. There's, we talked about the attendance. Like, is that going to hold up over the long term, particularly if the A's aren't winning? Is the field going to hold up? How's that going to work? Is this going to be a situation where there are a lot of balls in the air? Like, I don't think it's a sure thing that the A's are going to be in Sacramento this whole 3-year stretch. Like, I don't think that's a given, particularly if, like you said, the field gets completely baked out, it turns into concrete by the time August comes around. If opposing teams voice their complaints, the media situation certainly isn't great. I know fans don't care about that, but the media situation, the lack of like real press conference areas and press workrooms and press seating. If the A's do make the playoffs, the press setup is going to be why they won't host a playoff game. And then you'll have a scenario where if the A's do end up hosting a playoff game, most likely is that'll be in San Francisco. And what kind of look is that going to be for the A's? So, there's a lot of balls in the air for sure. The field's absolutely one of them. And if enough of these factors go poorly for the A's, it wouldn't surprise me at all if this Sacramento thing is a one and done, because you do have a major league ballpark sitting there in Oakland. I know it's being used by the Oakland Roots soccer team right now, but it wouldn't take much for them to get that back ready to major league caliber. And, despite the team's relationship with the local officials being completely fractured and the fan base being completely fractured, you do have a major league ballpark there that's sitting unused that could potentially, make more sense for the A's than West Sacramento if things go poorly.
Hold up. I gotta follow you. Wait, you're saying the A's could go back to Oakland, which would be awesome because it would be incredible after all the crap that was said about Oakland from the A's, not the fans, not the players, but from certain people in the organization and the war they had for years. To me, you know what this sounds like? That the A's didn't know what they were doing. They rushed into the Sacramento thing. They have no press box. They have the locker rooms are out in the outfield. The field could be trashed. The fans aren't showing up like they thought they were. Oh, but we're going to rush back to Oakland before hopefully we're one day in Vegas. This sounds like a bigger disaster than even Scott Braun could make it out to be. Like this is Scott Braun's like dream scenario right here. Like his bobblehead right here from when he went to the fan thingy, the fan fest. Like his head is about to explode because he's like,
careful,
please make this happen.
Careful, I'm bringing that up north. But also, I feel like just to add to this came about with two billionaire friends, John Fisher and Vivek, right? They're, I think, neighbors or yacht buddies or whatever they are. They drink together or they do whatever rich people do together, whatever the cool new recreational thing is to do. Let's put it that way. AJ was looking for what I was going to say. But anyway, I mean, he's just sitting with him and he's like, oh, come over here. And he's like, okay, sure. Let's do that.
Yeah, I just, and again, this is just me speculating. I haven't heard anything, but it's just, you have Cubs players complaining about the situation before the series even started. You have, the media situation being what it is. That shed that they have out down the left field line where they have press conferences right now, it's not climate controlled. And, apparently they're going to climate control it. But if they don't throw air conditioning in that thing on a 100-degree day, I don't know how you can have a press conference in basically a metal box that's going to turn into an oven. So that's something they have to fix, right? They built this new structure out beyond the left field wall that has a new clubhouse, and the facilities are, they're top notch. They're not the largest facilities because the footprint isn't the biggest, because you still have the River Cats clubhouse next door, and then you have the visiting clubhouse next door to that, and you have new batting cages built out there. So all that stuff is very nice, but they didn't build any sort of media facility out there. They're just trying to expand what was already there, and they had a 3 or 4 person press box that they outfitted and put a couple extra seats in. And then they took a luxury suite and basically pulled the chairs out of that and have these folding chairs with tiny little desk things on them. So it's not a bad vantage point behind home plate, but it's not, if you're hosting a playoff game, you need 150, 200 seats for media people. And the A's right now have about 30 or 40. And you had opening night with 150 media people there. The vast majority of them were without seats and were standing on the concourse watching in basically standing room only areas. So, maybe it works. Maybe it gets better. Maybe they play winning baseball. Maybe it drums up local enthusiasm, and maybe everything ends up being fine. But to AJ's point, if you have 153 games on that grass, if the grass turns into concrete, if it's too hot, if the media situation doesn't improve, Major League Baseball could look at this scenario and say, man, why are we doing this when there's a perfectly usable Major League ballpark, 90 miles down the road that we've used for almost 60 years? Why are we putting people through this when there's that facility that's already there? I just think it's a scenario that is still in play. But again, I haven't heard anything from any high level officials that would say that that's super realistic at this point. But me personally, I'm just not ruling it out, because we've seen how this organization has been run at the highest levels. To a certain extent, we've seen how the Kings have run their organization at the highest of levels. And that's another discussion. But yeah, when you match up these two owners specifically and look at how competent they've been in their respective sports over the last few years, I think it's completely fair to look at it with a lot of skepticism and say, can John Fisher and Vivek Ranadive have a successful operation like this, given all the moving parts? And I think it's fair to say that, all right, I think it's fair to not be super optimistic about it.
By the way, if you think what you had this weekend or this week was crazy with media, wait until Shohei comes there and he starts hitting homers against the A's, or Aaron Judge, as John Fisher so eloquently put it. Wait till Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge come hit homers here. How cool will that be? And you have Shohei with all the Japanese media with Yamamoto and Sasaki, and then you have the New York media and the 700 people that those teams travel with. it's going to be a disaster. If you think it's bad now, just wait.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see. I mean, there are some. I feel
You
bad
ain't getting
saying
a
it
seat,
because
Chris. You ain't getting a seat, by the way. You better hope you get one out. You might have to sit out on the lawn and be part of the paid attendance.
yeah, and I feel for a lot of the people in the A's organization and people involved because a lot of these decisions are way above their head and people are doing the best they can. So I don't want it to sound like I'm blaming everybody, but there a lot of people are trying to deal with things that are way out of their control. And this all came together in less than a year. That's not a lot of time to put something like this together. So, you're putting a lot of people in a really difficult spot, and ultimately that's why the results might not be what you want initially.
Yeah, Chris, we're all on the same page. We know who the main person is at fault. But yes, on the berm or on the grass out there, they're going to get spray paint. They're going to do a circle, and then they'll do your initials, CB, and that'll be your spot for A's Dodgers. I can already see it. Just take a photo for us. It'll go super
Well, we'll
viral.
see. The Dodgers don't come. They don't play road games against the A's until next year. So we'll see if we even get to that point. But we have, the Giants will be here on 4th of July weekend. That'll be a huge series. The Yankees are coming at some point. I forget exactly when, but yeah, there are some big media draws this year, and we'll have to see how that goes. But luckily, I think for the A's, luckily for the A's, the Dodgers aren't coming this year. So I think
there you go. They got a break. They get 1 year to prep for it. Chris, you were awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Give Chris a follow at Chris Biderman. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. All right, FT fam, we will be right back. I just want to rant for a moment. Media has changed a lot in sports. I don't know every other sport as much as I do baseball, of course, in terms of how they deal with the media, but some teams treat it like they're in the way. Some teams are great. They are genuinely great. They provide info. They treat people like people. But in some cases, it's like, oh, media's here. They're in the way. But then when they need something promoted, you're getting flooded with press releases. Oh, you should come on or have so-and-so on to talk about this. So it's just weird the way that is handled. And I just feel like if you're a sport or you're any entertainment platform, you have people, places, outlets covering you. You do not pay them. They're giving you free promotion. It's free advertising, right? They spend millions of dollars on marketing to try and get people to the park and to watch games. You have media. So I'm not saying they have to be your best friends, but you should treat them very respectfully.
Some don't think
Agreed.
so. Some don't think so. We don't.
I've
heard it said, we don't owe them anything.
Fine. Then they don't owe you anything. You should disappear. Then nobody should cover you, and you should disappear. I'm telling you, even the top teams, there are some top teams out there that will say, oh, our ratings are down, and oh, we should get more coverage, but we're not going to help you with any of that coverage. And I'm like, okay, do you know this isn't 1980 anymore? There are other sports. There are other options. People don't just automatically flip on the TV. There's 3 channels, and they're like, well, got to watch them even though nothing's being promoted about them. So I have to rant a little. I'm part of media for a while. This even goes back to when I worked for MLB. Even with MLB, sometimes there would be several teams in particular where you're like, do they know that we're on the same team and we're just going to promote them? I don't know. It was weird. But
listen,
the sport has changed.
As someone that works for Fox, and they're, as what's called a rights holder, like Fox goes to the MLB a lot and is like, hey, we want to do this or do that. And they're like, nope. And they're like, you see this thing that we have that says rights holder? We pay the most for your game. If we want to talk to somebody or get it, you should let us because we're promoting your sport, right? It says, like on my credential, it says rights holder, right? Which means that Fox pays the most money out of any company to promote baseball. So you should help us do whatever we need to do.
Help you. Inside Edge, Data Dish. We've got access to some stats, so we're throwing them out there. This one was posted this morning. Kyle Tucker is off to a hot start. His slugging percentage, 784. He was on a hot start last year, too. And AJ, that's the other side of this A's-Cubs conversation. We just spoke about the A's for a while. The Cubs looked really good. Was it the ballpark? Was it bad A's pitching? Or do the Cubs have a much better offense now with someone like Tucker as a legit superstar in their lineup? And Seiya Suzuki went off this past weekend, too. I think he's going to be way better because he doesn't have to worry about the outfield. He's not a good outfielder. But anyway, your thoughts?
First of all, let's take a little bit of a step back. It's been 7 games. No, they've actually played, 8 games, I think it is, 9 games. So let's take a little bit of a step back. It's a small sample size, as Scott's best friend on another channel used to say. But let's understand that Kyle Tucker is going to help their offense, but they also haven't played in Wrigley yet where it's going to be freezing and the wind's going to be blowing in for 2 months. So let's get back to me in about June before it warms up. They played in Tokyo. They didn't score a bunch of runs in Tokyo. Then they went to Arizona, I think, to start, which is a good place to hit. And then they went to Sacramento, where it's a great place to hit. And listen, Kyle Tucker's a really good player. Is he going to slug 784? Probably not. But he's a great player when he's healthy. So let's take a little bit of a step back. But he's only 5th in the NL. It's not like he's 1st in the NL. So let's also take a step back.
I mean, let's think about the last few years. Who was the anchor of that lineup? The one year when Cody Bellinger did what he did, he has a couple MVP finishes. You're talking about Kyle Tucker is an MVP candidate, and he's doing that so far. So that's great. This lineup has a lot of pieces at the top of it. Can the rest of the guys, Carson Kelly's probably not going to hit for the cycle ever again this season, but who knew that he was going to hit for it then? But you sit there and you go, is this lineup going to be good enough to be able to withstand what's going to happen when you go back to Wrigley and you don't have those balls flying out? You don't have a consistent weather. Like, is the lineup going to be good enough to scratch runs out? I love Ian Happ at the top of their lineup. Gets on base, and the other guys drive him in. How are they going to sustain the success that they've had so far to start the season? I don't know. There's a few teams where you go, whoa, this is a really good team. A few teams that have a hot start, you go, okay, pump the brakes a little bit. Let's just wait and see. They're a wait and see team for me.
Okay. One more inside edge note. Juan Soto on non-fastballs. The swing percentage is 14%, lowest in baseball. Mets, by the way, picked up an extra innings win, which Mets fans felt pretty good about yesterday because you don't want to lose a series early on to the Marlins when you just had the offseason that you had. But anyway, anything to read into here, AJ?
It's not piss poor hitting by Juan Soto. I know that. Not piss poor hitting by Juan Soto. Sorry, too soon, guys? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
No, I love it. We can explain it. It's not a big deal. Keith Hernandez, hot mic.
It was hilarious.
That's a good hot mic. Yeah.
Hot mic moment. He's like, what'd they say? They didn't score in extra innings. He's like, that's just piss poor hitting, and the mic caught him. So here's the thing you have to understand. It only, I think, caught him on the app. It's the same way Tom Brenneman got in trouble for what he said, well, obviously he shouldn't say anyways. But the app comes back sooner than the actual camera. So, Scott, you know this from doing the games, and Kratz, you probably know this from doing radio. In your ear, the producer's like, all right, we're back in 5, 4, 3, 2. And that's the TV feed, but the MLB.TV feed comes back a few seconds earlier. So you kind of got to give it like a 10-second buffer window there to say anything. But I thought it was hilarious that, Keith was like, yeah, it was piss poor hitting, which it was, but the Mets still won. And Polar Bear with a huge homer. Dude, he's hitting balls to center and right center in Miami. That's not supposed to happen.
Dude, Polar Bear is going to just have this sneaky monster year. No, nobody's talking about him nationally yet until he starts racking up, homers and gets to the top of the list. But anyway, that is true, Kratz. For me, what I learned when I was calling games consistently was you put the headset on, you're on, right? Obviously, that you're on a record so people can hear. But even one step further is that often through the app, it's not only when you're coming back, but also often when you go to break, it doesn't get turned off right away. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Probably maybe someone has to do it manually, but you're on. So We knew that.
Hot mic. Hot mic. That's what they tell you. It's a hot mic. Don't even, like, when you hit your cough button. When you hit your cough button, don't even, like, just, it's a hot mic. That's what you need to know. What's also hot about that stat, and I was going to say Pete's stat, he hit 3 balls yesterday at 113 miles per hour or harder. Like, he was smashing the ball. And what AJ said, to hit it where he was hitting it while Marlins Park isn't what it used to be farther, those are bombs. But Juan Soto, that 14% on non-fast, he doesn't even swing at non-fastballs. As a catcher, I go, hey, you know what? You get a free strike. You're down 1-0, drop a curveball in for a strike. Doesn't even need to be a really good pitch. Just drop the curveball in. The dude just smashes fastballs, and he doesn't chase out of the zone. So I like that stat. That's a good stat for pitchers who are like, how do I get Juan Soto out?
Exactly why we're going to do more of this and ask you guys about this, get the catcher perspective. Swinging back with Jared Sandler, our buddy, part of the FT fam, not officially, but we love him. He's a big FT fan, and he covers the Rangers, who are smoking hot right now. He's next. FT fam, legends never die. That is the motto for Homage. Go to homage.com and get yourself maybe one of these tees. This was one of my favorites from spring training. Got a little Grapefruit League action. Nice, iconic looking logo. And behind me on the back is all the teams that are listed for the Grapefruit League. You've got, of course, if you're more of an Arizona person, you've got the t-shirt for that too. But Kratz, I just love the way that they give you the highest quality material and then a little vintage action if you're looking for it.
I love the vintage. I've been a baseball fan my whole life, and teams change their logos. If you're looking for a logo that your team used to have, Homage is your place to go. Go cop one of the old logos from the major league teams that maybe they don't use anymore.
Yeah, homage.com/FoulTerritory. Go to the website and then use the code FoulTerritory, the name of our show, for 20% off if you're a first-time purchaser on the website. Go check it out, FT fam. Look at our model here today. Erik Kratz, a.k.a. Benjamin Franklin's biggest fan. There it is.
Just hits. The history just hits. Oh, you know what? I like the little stuff too. I like that we got the little homage. It's not just like a iron-on. It's like a raised patch. That's when you know you got the good one. When you get the raised patch, not the iron-on piece.
Right, not the print. That looks good.
Yeah.
That's the authentic patch right there. I just did an order this morning. It was a very all over the place order. 2 different Grateful Dead shirts, Toronto, for a couple buddies that are from Canada that love Grateful Dead. There's a Buddy the Elf shirt that I really liked that I found on there. Yeah, I'll wear it next week. AJ is going to love it. It's a motto just for AJ.
You don't even celebrate Christmas, Scott. You can't wear an elf shirt.
I celebrate whatever I want. I celebrate everything. I celebrate every day.
You're Scrooge, Scott. You're Scrooge. You can't be wearing an elf shirt.
Are you kidding me? Every day I wake up, I party every morning because I woke up. It's that simple. I celebrate every single day. I'm like, I did it. I woke up. I get to bother AJ for another day. Haha. Anyway, homage.com/FoulTerritory. We're back in 20 seconds with Jared Sandler. We're going to go over the Rangers and Jack Leiter looking really good.
We're going to talk soccer. We're going to talk soccer. Just so you know, we're
That's
going to
fine.
talk soccer.
Just later in the
Tottenham. Tottenham is the best.
Best.
Actually, they're not. But
well.
Jared Sandler's with us. We're in prime form today. It's almost Friday. You can hear him on Victory Plus, the new Rangers channel, and you can hear him on the radio everywhere. All right, Mr. Rangers. Jared, great to have you on. Let's get right to biz. First, back-to-back 1-0 wins in Cincinnati. Are Rangers fans freaking out right now with excitement about a team that looks like they're going to be really good again?
Yeah, I think, the fact that they won obviously hides the fact that their offense hasn't really come to life just yet. But yeah, I think the way they went about it, first of all, Rangers fans love Nathan Eovaldi. I know he hasn't been with the Rangers for 10 years or anything, but because of 2023 and everything he did, during that postseason run, I mean, he walks on water for Rangers fans. Nothing will change that. And so when he does what he did, throwing a complete game shutout, it kind of washes away the fact that they didn't really do much offensively. And then yesterday, Jack Leiter being the first leg of that quintet of pitchers to deliver the shutout, that's huge too, because I think Rangers fans look at Jack as the second overall pick, even though his college experience was far different. He was only there 2 years. One of those years washed away because of COVID. And you guys know that everyone wants every second overall pick to make an impact right away. And it's maybe been a little bit of a slower progression for Jack, but he was the AAA pitcher of the year last year. This is the year for him to show that he is ready to be a big league pitcher every 5 days. And so far, so good. And for him to do what he did, 5 shutout innings yesterday, I think has people excited. Now, the 5-2 record helps. The offense needs to get going, but right now the pitching's been outstanding.
The blister? Are we worried about the blister, or was it a blister that was going to form by like a hot spot, I think they had said?
Yeah, so I can only trust Boch at this point, especially with the day off today. We're not going to get an update, but he said that Jack probably could have come out for the 6th inning, but with the off day today and with a rested bullpen, because 2 days prior they had stayed away. I mean, the Rangers got their tail kicked, so they didn't need to use any of their leverage arms. And then with Eovaldi going CG shutout the day before, they had a fully rested bullpen, and so I think they just were of the mindset, hey, no need to risk it. It's fine. He'll get an extra day with the off day today. The relievers, they don't need to worry about overextending them. So I don't think it's a big deal, but Kratz, you know how this is. I mean, you can get that messaging from the team, but until you know for sure that guy is going to be on the mound when his turn in the rotation comes up, I guess I don't know for sure, but the messaging after the game was that it wasn't really a big deal.
He's got to pee on his hands. He's got to pee on his hands, pee on his fingers. Right?
There you go.
This a style, right? Or pickle juice. What did we say? What did pickle juice? What was it? Tyler Glasnow pickle juice. So whatever it takes for Jack to be out there. But how good can the Rangers pitching be? We saw Eovaldi. We saw DeGrom have a nice start. Leiter's had a couple good starts. He also got hit in the nether regions in one of those starts, which has been everywhere.
Yeah.
And then Rocker, right? Rocker's shown glimpses. So how good can this starting staff be, and how much depth is there behind the guys we're talking about?
Hey, let me just tell you guys something quickly about Rocker. After he was on with you guys, I talked to him about it the day after. I was giving him a hard time about something he said. I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was the $2 million in NIL that he said that he and Jack would get, and I don't remember what it was. But I love those guys. So Kamar Rocker's a big fan of y'all's. I know that you guys really take a lot of pride in doing a show the right way that players would appreciate, and so I wanted to share that. But I think if Jack Leiter is taking another step, I mean, I'll tell you, yesterday his slider was outstanding. His first start, he got 8 swings and misses on his fastball in the zone, and he's added a sinker that he's using more effectively. He's one of these guys who's got a kick change. We haven't really seen that be a dominant pitch by any means just yet, but his ability to have success in the zone and then also have a sinker that can play in the bottom part of the zone is, I think, a big step forward for him. But if you add Jack Leiter to Eovaldi and DeGrom, just as a guy who you can rely on and give you a chance to win every 5 days, that's huge. Let's not forget about Tyler Mahle. I mean, he didn't have a great start his first time, an inning and 2/3, but he didn't really get hit. He just wasn't throwing strikes, the pitch count got up there. He's going to start tomorrow on Friday against the Rays, and so it'll be interesting to see what he looks like, because he's not too far removed from being a desired and coveted pitcher. And then Kamar's that's an interesting one, right? What he shot through the minor leagues last year, coming back from Tommy John, and just busted down the door and forced his way to the big leagues. But he's got very limited upper level minor league experience. And so I think there's some questions, hey, could he benefit from a little bit more work down in AAA, or is he big league ready? And then the other question is, the last 3 years he's thrown fewer than 100 combined innings. And, one of the frustrating parts about our game is that we know that protecting arms is important, but there's no objective way to do it, and it's such a moving target. And so Is he going to be on some sort of innings restriction? I imagine he would be. And so I think, you could make an argument that going down to AAA, limiting the innings, not having to worry about it taxing your big league bullpen maybe could be a benefit early on. So we'll see what they do with Kumar Rocker. But, obviously the future is bright with Leiter taking a step forward with Kumar Rocker. But right now, the present day rotation, it looks like a good group. And their bullpen's not sexy, guys. It's not like they've got an Emmanuel Clase at the back end or someone who you're like, this guy is a bona fide stud in the ninth inning. But they have way more depth in their bullpen than they've had the last couple of years. Even their World Series year, a lot of options. And I think that it might take a few weeks, but I think they've got the pieces to figure out who fits where best. And so far, it's worked out nicely with Luke Jackson in the ninth and Chris Martin and Robert Garcia setting him up in the seventh and eighth innings.
Bochy figures out a bullpen. That's what Bochy does. Yeah. But what you were alluding to with Rocker, you can say that about everybody. Tyler Mahle's thrown 50 innings since 2002. Kumar Rocker hasn't gone over that threshold. Jacob deGrom, I don't even need to say anything. Jack Leiter, where are they going to find the innings? Do they have enough of a cachet in the minor leagues of like a Lance Lynn, a Kirk, a Kyle Gibson? No, they don't have. Like, who do they have that's going to get all these innings for them?
Well, yeah, and I thought that a Lance Lynn reunion would make sense, but Patrick Corbin is going to be that guy. And you're right, Kratzy, like that's one of the challenges is, so Evaldi, you feel like can be on a normal leash, and like it's crazy, but just from a workload standpoint, Jack Leiter might be second, among the five currently in the rotation, like guys you're comfortable getting innings. It's just that, going into the year, we didn't know to what degree he'd be able to be that guy just from an effectiveness standpoint. But yeah, with Tyler Mahle, you're going to be careful. With Jacob deGrom, you're going to be careful. I mean, I would be surprised if you see Jacob deGrom pitch into the seventh, the first month and a half, 2 months of the season. And really probably won't go six very often unless he's super efficient. And then with Kumar, they're going to be careful as well. That's where Patrick Corbin comes into the mix. Now, eventually, they'll hopefully get John Gray and Cody Bradford back, and that will help. They are a little protected from a long release standpoint with Gerson Garabito. They've also got some options in the minor leagues. And guys, this, over 162, you need to have some ammunition in the minor leagues that can come up and help in the bullpen as needed. And they, when I talk about the bullpen depth, I'm not just talking about the 8 guys that are on the active roster. I'm also talking about guys who could conceivably come up and help, even if it's just an innings-eating capacity. But Patrick Corbin is available. He was optioned. So unless there's an injury, he's not eligible until April 11th. But I think the expectation is that on April 11th or April 12th, Patrick Corbin will be in this rotation. And listen, we can all go to his baseball reference page and look at the numbers, and the ERA is not pretty. I think a couple things as far as that's concerned. The Rangers saw some developments and changes in his repertoire and his usage in the second half. He had one outing. I think he gave up 11 runs that skewed his ERA. If you take that away, I think like his last 19 starts, he had an ERA in the mid-4s. And the Rangers offense has not produced at a high level yet. I think they feel good about, hey, if our number 5 starter has an ERA in the mid-4s, our bats will hopefully be able to answer the call there. But I think the Rangers also look at the innings. And the reality is Patrick Corbin has been a very reliable source of innings. And if they need someone in their rotation, to your point, Erik, who can just give them 6 innings on a given night and maybe wear it while doing it, then Patrick Corbin could be that guy. So I think he's kind of the answer to that question when he's ready in 8 days, when he's eligible to be optioned or come off of option and be activated. And he's going to be that innings eater to join Nathan Evaldi as a veteran who can hopefully be a relied upon source of rest for your bullpen once every 5 days.
Jared, what about this offense? What's going on? I mean, I know they won 1-0, but they're still not banging the ball around like we've come to expect with the Rangers offense with the names in this lineup. So can the offense improve from last year, and have they figured out how to hit 4-seamers?
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking about this earlier, actually. Like last year, for the first month, it was the same refrain. Like, hey, they're going to figure it out. Their lineup is so talented. And, you look back and they just never did figure it out. So I recognize the irony in me sitting here and answering your question, AJ, with that answer. I think they're too talented. They're going to figure it out. I guess the difference between last year and this year is you referenced the fastball stuff. I mean, adding Jock Peterson and Jake Berger, I think will help dramatically. Now, they struggled against Hunter Green's fastball yesterday. I mean, his slider was nasty. But I thought they competed really well against Erik Crochet's fastball on opening day. They didn't knock him around for a ton of runs. They left some meat on the bone in the second inning. Great situation. But they had some really competitive at-bats. And then I think the real key here is Adolis Garcia looks like a version much closer to the 2023 Adolis Garcia than last year's Adolis Garcia. And we've seen how he can be an aircraft carrier for any kind of lineup. And then, I mean, if you're worried about Corey Seager, who hasn't gotten off to a great start, then all right, maybe it justifies being worried about the lineup. I'm not, until this guy shows that he's not going to be a stud, then I'm not going to worry about him. I do think, a fair question that Rangers fans are asking is about the leadoff spot, because Marcus Semien is not coming off his best year. Now, he does have this even year, odd year thing going, and in the odd years, he tends to perform at a super high level offensively. And again, it's way early to make any kind of a move. But if he continues to struggle, I wonder how that might reshape the lineup. And you guys talked to Wyatt Langford, I know, when you came to Rangers camp. I just really think this guy is going to have a big-time year. And I just think it's 7 games. Yeah, Cincinnati, really cold temperatures the first 2 games of that series. I don't know how that affected them. If it did, it didn't. I don't know. It didn't affect the Reds. The first game of the series, they scored 14 runs. But I think that I want to give this lineup a couple more weeks of runway before we start worrying. But I think after last year's experience, I think it would be understandable to worry a little sooner than you normally would, because we felt the same way last year about the lineup that never really got it going. And then I also think having Josh Young back, he should be back from his neck spasms when he's eligible off the IL here in the next few days. And I just think having a healthy Josh Young in that lineup helps. He can hit fastballs from the right side, which will help, along with Jake Berger. And then having Jock Peterson to crush right-handed pitching will be a big add to this lineup, I think, over the large sample.
How about extension season? Everyone's getting extensions across the game. Wyatt Langford, could there be something, maybe with a slow start, they could get a little discount?
It's funny. We were on the plane coming back from Cincinnati, and we just saw the Ketel Marte extension, which I know doesn't fit in the same category. He's a veteran, but obviously extensions the last couple of days. And Wyatt walks right down the aisle as we were talking about it. I wanted to stop and be like, Wyatt, has anyone asked? Like, what's going on here? I mean, he's the perfect candidate. Now, Rangers fans would have said the same thing about Evan Carter last year at this time. And maybe it's for the best that didn't, happen or hasn't happened yet. But yeah, if it's me, if you're putting me in charge, I'm doing it. I have so much belief in Wyatt Langford. I just don't. I don't have the same. Obviously, there's a risk. There's always a health risk. It's not a guaranteed thing. But I think you guys were talking about how the Braves have done such a good job of this. I know you've talked about in the past. They've taken the risk, but they've identified the right guys, and now. I know they're off to such a terrible start, but they have saved so much money by locking guys up that allowed them to build such a deep roster the last couple years, and they've identified the right guys. You gotta do that, and I think Wyatt's the right guy. Now he might look and say, "Hell no," I see what Juan Soto just got. I'm a better athlete than he is, and I might not be the hitter, but the extension that I'm going to sign is one that's going to be about 5 times the value of what you're offering me right now. So I don't know from his perspective, but if you can sign a deal that still allows him to become a free agent when he's 29 years old or something, it seems to me like it would be worth every penny. I hope they're having those conversations. I don't know, but he is the perfect candidate for that sort of thing, no doubt.
All right, Jared, before we let you go, I know you're tired of talking about the Rangers. Let's talk about a worse subject. Let's talk about your Tottenham Hotspurs. They got Chelsea coming up, and they suck. So they're not going to get relegated, but we root for the same soccer team. Scott's going, oh, no, we got to talk soccer. But, yeah, it's not a snooze fest if you're into it. It's fine. Who did you tell me? You said someone else was a big Tottenham fan on your club.
Jake Berger. Yeah, Jake Berger's a huge Spurs. Yeah.
So can we turn this around and make some chicken salad out of chicken bleep?
Yeah, not this year. In 51 minutes, they kick off against Chelsea, and I imagine that they'll be down about 55 minutes from now, 1-0, and it'll be, it's not going to be a lot of fun for the 2 hours following that. But, I don't know. I mean, it is I will tell you, we got Luke Jackson. Luke Jackson's dad used to do business in London, and so Luke grew up spending a lot of time in London. He's a big soccer fan. He supports West Ham. Jake Berger's a big Spurs fan, and like not. Guys are like, yeah, I like this team, like whatever. I mean, Jake knows, like he follows, he understands who's healthy, who's not. We could talk, some of the roster decisions. So he's really into it, which is really cool. And it's really fun talking sports with these guys when they put on their fan hat, knowing what they know, like from their experiences as athletes, when they're really into it, the way they like view sports as a fan, but through their professional lens. It's really neat. But yeah, Tottenham sucks. This has been an awful year. I'm just waiting for the table to reset in August and hopefully we have a better season next year because they are awful. I saw them play back in December. I went across the pond and they played one of the worst teams in the league, Wolverhampton, and they couldn't even win that match. They drew 2-2. So it's just been a miserable year. But hopefully they can turn it around. And I'm sure that there's so many Foul Territory viewers and listeners who are locked in on Tottenham Chelsea like we are, AJ. So I'll stop it. I'll keep it at that.
That's okay. It's okay. You know what? It's good every once in a while to broaden people's horizons, right? I mean, I can't even say the manager's name, Ange Postecoglou. I don't know if it's time for him to go, but
Ange Postecoglou, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I will say, you guys talked about this in Japan, right? I still though when I think about soccer, just to tie back to baseball, man, I really wish that it was the environments in some of these, American ballparks was so much different. Going to watch a sporting event overseas is unbelievable. I've never been to Japan. Watching it on TV, it seems awesome. And I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to like break that seal. But like American fans experience this to some degree with college games. Like, why is it different? I wish that the atmospheres, NBA games, NFL games, Major League Baseball games for sure, was way more of a party scene. You don't need laser lights everywhere just because someone throws a strike, but like, why can't there be chanting and energy and stuff all throughout the game? It happens overseas. Why not in America?
True.
Soccer.
I tell people all the time, go to a soccer game. It's college football, but it's like 3 times a week.
Yeah.
But it's college football. If you love college football, college basketball, they root for their team, and the energy is like going to a college football game but you get like 3 times a week, and people get up, they go to the pubs, they drink their pints, and then they go over schnocker to the game, and they sing their songs, and they do their dances, and they have their scarves, and they have a great time. And sometimes fights break out, but it does in college football too. So I agree. With you, Jared. Let's go Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.
World Baseball Classic has that.
Come on, you Spurs.
Yeah, World Baseball Classic has
but
that.
Why?
Vibe.
But like,
Obviously,
why can't it translate into the regular season?
But I mean, it's tough in most spots to be able to carry that momentum. Baseball doesn't sell out every game like that. It's a more relaxed environment. Regular season feels like regular season, except if there's, say, a rivalry game or big moments. I don't know. It's just I don't see it ever changing. Maybe it gets a little more enhanced, but I don't see it ever getting to anywhere near what a college environment looks like or soccer environment, stuff like that. I know a lot of people and they're paying customers too. They want to go and just kind of relax and have a good time and take a break from work. And they like that there's so many games to choose from. So I feel what you're saying. I mean, we're the super fans here, but I don't know. You go to a game, you just see a lot of people like chilling, talking, eating, and I'm okay with that, right? And they get up for the big moments, but not for the full 9 innings. I feel like you gotta have load management with during the season. So anyway, Jared, awesome to have you on. Thanks for the time. We'll catch you soon. Okay.
Appreciate it, fellas. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Catch Jared on Victory Plus and follow him for the best Rangers insight at Jared Sandler. All right, deep breath for the Twins and the Brewers. They were winless a few days ago. They've both won a couple games in a row. Everyone okay?
Or are we not supposed to be?
Just making sure. I mean,
who's not okay is Rosenthal's World Series pick with the Braves. I don't know.
We're going to get to that.
I don't know who would ever pick the Braves to win the World Series. I mean, I could name another person.
Can't do it this way.
Who?
This way. Didn't you pick the Braves to win the World Series?
I'm not here to talk about the past, Scott. I misremember. I misremembered.
I misremembered.
Wow. All right. Well,
I'm not here to
anyway,
talk about the past.
yes, we will get to the Braves with Grant McAuley. The Brewers had a nice pick-me-up these last couple games after getting beat up by the Royals. I think it was 11-1 in the first game of the series. They really held him down. Freddie Peralta was the stopper yesterday too. Well, not the stopper. They had won the day before, but 8 innings for him. And then, they came back. They end up winning in extras. Churio looked really good yesterday. And then Bader's had homers in back-to-back games for the Twinkies. White Sox offense was pretty quiet the last couple games. You got to beat the White Sox if you're the Twins. That's your one gimme in the division. AJ earmuffs, but it's true. One more shout out, actually, I want to do because we won't have time for this, but Ivan Herrera had 3 homers yesterday for the Cardinals.
Far homers.
Far. Pulled the crap out of him. All different pitches, too. 2 were from Kikuchi. I think one was a breaker, one was maybe a changeup, and then a heater late in the game. What was
All
it?
lefties.
All lefties. That's cool. Looks
Big
good.
Macland. He was just peppering Big Macland. It was, he was pimping him. He had it going yesterday. And he's the first Cardinals catcher to ever hit 3 home runs in a game.
Yes, I did know that.
I did not believe that when they said that on the telecast.
Well, Yachty was their catcher for the last 100 years. And if he didn't have a 3-homer game, I guess.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think. History.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a 3-homer game as a Cardinal.
They would have taken you out. They would have taken you out before the 7th inning.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, easy. If I could have been 3 for 3 with 3 homers. It's the 5th inning. Mike Matheny would have been like, "You're doing too good. Let's get you out." Yachty hasn't played in 12 hours. We need him back in.
You had
we got all we could out of you.
No, I never had.
AJ, no, just 2.
It was plenty, Scott. That was my limit.
Better than box scores. This series is continuing already right now, so we'll talk about it in 2 ways. Yesterday, Garrett Crochet's first start after getting a lot of money was super successful and 8 innings because you don't need to have any kid gloves anymore. You've got him locked in. He can just eat. No runs, 4 hits, 8 Ks, 1 walk against the very good Baltimore Orioles offense. Team wins yesterday, and they're right now beating Charlie Morton and the Orioles. Morton, last I checked, had like 7 Ks in, I think, 4 innings, but they've got a couple homers off him. Christian Gamble, the newly richer Christian Campbell, and who else homered so far today? Bregman. First homer for Bregman, right? Breggy bomb. Yeah. Boston's going to be good. I slapped a little money on this series.
Some of us picked them to win the division. Some of us picked them to win the division. I'm just saying.
Many of us did, actually.
Crochet.
I'm not here to talk about the past.
Crochet, I was surprised that he did this well right after the extension. I remember when Cole Hamels got his extension from the Phillies. It was like, oh, is he going to be traded? Is he not? They made him get a MRI, I guess, which is the one where they shoot the dye in your shoulder. I think that's an MRI. But anyway, they shot it in there, and he had to start 2 days after it, and it was kind of a clunker. And I remember him being before the game like, oh, man, like that dye is still killing me. So I'm like, they did a physical for Crochet to be able to lock in that much money for him. Maybe they didn't. Or maybe he's a cyborg and that kind of stuff doesn't hurt him.
Well, or he was already coming off of a spring training physical and they already had it and they didn't need to do it again. That also could be a thing. It's not
that maybe it's close enough.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know who else is pitching really well today? And I know this is pod, we'll hear it later, but Kratz's guy who he said was not going to have a good year, Taijuan Walker. And he's out there just shoving against the Rockies. Yes. So he's got a 0 ERA, just saying.
Don't slander Kratz. Yeah, he didn't put that out there.
You didn't say that? Are you sure?
No, his velo was up all spring, 2 to 3 miles an hour, which gives him more separation from his splitter.
I think all
of Philly hates him. All of Philly does not want Taijuan Walker out there. That is for sure. I can hear that on the radio, and my radio is not even on right now.
You know who Philly wants? They want Spencer Turnbull back. I can't believe he's still a free agent. He's
That's
still
crazy.
just chucking. I think at the Boris facility, and Mark Attanasio, the Brewers owner, apparently said, I think yesterday, that they were still having some combos about a Boris client, a pitcher. I'm like, it's definitely him. People were joking. They're like, it's either him or Joey Gallo. I think it's Turnbull. But anyway, Boston looked good yesterday. They're looking good so far today. On the other side, I know I'm the down guy on the Orioles, but when I was on Orioles radio, what was it, 2 days ago, they were like, thoughts on Shigano and Morton. I'm like, well, Shigano, I think, got one strikeout, and I'm not swing and miss in his first outing. I was like, I'm very concerned that Charlie Morton could show that this is his last year, Adam Wainwright style. And so far today, again, he's got punch outs, but this is another clunker outing for him so far. So they're going to need to figure out better starting pitching to keep up.
I'll be very interested. They need Grayson back, obviously.
Yes.
But I'll be very interested to see how Shigano does, because I talked to somebody that played with him in Japan. I forget who it was, but they said just watch him, because they didn't think that his stuff, or saw him. I don't know if they saw him in Japan or played with, I don't know. It was somebody that knew him from Japan. And they said, just watch him, because I'm not sold that his game translates to the Major League Baseball game. And sometimes that happens. It works over there. It doesn't work over here. Sometimes it's vice versa. Guys work over there and they don't work over here. So they work over here and they don't work over there. So it'll be interesting to see how he does over a 162-game season.
A lot of teams weren't into him. Several years ago, a lot of teams weren't into him. So he pulled back, right? He was going to get posted.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, all right, never mind. There's not enough interest here. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's move to the Diamondbacks taking on the Yankees again, and the Ketel Marte extension. He had years to go, Kratz, but they just added more years on. So now he could be signed up through 2031 if he takes a player option for $11.5 million during that year. They're essentially locking him up for life. Why not? I mean, he was an MVP candidate for most of last year until injury bug hit him a little bit late. But I mean, he was finished third, I think, for MVP. I think it was Ohtani, Lindor, and then Ketel Marte. He's one of the best players in the National League. And nowadays, that kind of money on an extension looks like nothing. There were years locked in already, so you're just tacking on more on top. But this is a no-brainer.
I didn't realize he was there since 2017. I knew he was at the Mariners. They traded him over, and that's his second top 5 MVP finish. He might be one of the more underrated players in the game. Obviously, coming off the year he had last year, you're in top 3. All of a sudden, everybody knows about you. But not many people knew about a switch-hitting, athletic player that Ketel Marte is. To me, I read the one quote. He said, I wanted to be in Arizona, so why wouldn't I do this? They're starting to build something in Arizona, too, that people want to be there. They want to stay. They're not just like, I'm pushing it. I'm pushing as much as I can. And this enables Arizona to get a little bit better price.
I love this move. This guy is a snake. He should be a snake for life. And now he's probably going to be. So good for you, Ketel Marte. Good for you, Diamondbacks. Listen, the Diamondbacks have spent the money. We yell at owners all the time. Ken Kendrick's going out spending the money now. I mean, does he wish he had the Jordan Montgomery contract back? Absolutely, especially after his year last year, and then he, had Tommy John. So I love this, though. I love that the Diamondbacks are going out spending their money, and it's great. It's a great topic for Snakes territory for them to talk about.
That's right. QR code's on your screen. If you're a Diamondbacks fan or you just want to hear about what's going on with the team, brand new show, FT Network, Snakes territory. Check it out. And shout out to Gallen. 6 2/3 shutout, 3 hits, no walks, 13 strikeouts. He torpedoed the Yankees.
He owns the Yankees. He owns the Yankees, by the way.
Does.
Owns them, Derek. Owns the
He's a
Yankees.
Jersey guy.
Yep, owns them.
He gets up for these starts.
In our game, maybe he's a free agent. Maybe they might want to sign him. But anyway, in our high school game yesterday, the pitcher that threw for us threw a complete game, 7-inning complete game, and he had 13 strikeouts. And it felt like he struck out everybody. So to do that in a big league game, it was just like the curveball. I guess the Yankees they're going to ditch the torpedo bat and they're going to go with the curveball machine. Or maybe they should put the curveballs in the curveball machine and see what happens, because that's another thing. Along with torpedo bats, go get the torpedo bats, the box of steam, the key to the batter's box, the left-handed breaking balls, all those.
Yeah, he's going to get paid if he keeps looking like that. Command was there. Knuckle curve was insane. He had a couple big strikeouts against Dominguez. Same exact pitch to end both ABs. Like exact same spot.
Don't insult Derek like that, please. Don't insult Derek like that.
No, Derek was calling the game with me last night.
I know. I can. How many tears? There had to be so many tears. Not as many tears as when I bent this Ellie card for Scott, but close. It had to be close.
Yeah. It was a rain out.
Oh, Derek had a drink. Right. And Derek's like, I don't drink. So I'm like, all right, then he's going to listen to his chill playlist to kind of calm down. But the post-game show he did was great on Pinstripe Territory. Anyway, let's get to the Atlanta Braves next. The winless Braves with a nightmare road trip. Grant McAuley dialed in on this team is going to join us with the word next. Grant coming from 92.9 The Game and host of From the Diamond. BetMGM Locks, first little look at yesterday. AJ couldn't get enough offense out of that Rockies-Phillies game.
Listen, they had bases loaded and no outs or one out, and they had Turner and Harper up. Those guys stink, by the way. They couldn't get in a run or two with the bases loaded. Yeah, listen, it happens. We've all been there. Kratz, you struck out plenty of times, the bases loaded, me too. But you know what? Congratulations to everybody else. Congratulations. And by the way, Tarek Skubal, I feel bad for you, man. I know that Keith feels bad about that, but if y'all didn't see that play yesterday, it cost him 2 runs, pitches, and the game, really, when he didn't just throw it to first like he should have. And, I know, you got to pick your guy up and this and that, but that sucks. And I'm sure Keith felt awful.
And Luis Castillo had a good game to shut them down on the other side.
True.
But yeah, I got a dub with Boston. Kratz got the dub with Skubal hitting the over strikeouts, and Pat on the board with the Padres covering the run line. Let's get at least one pick in, and then we'll do the rest on the next swing. AJ, you want to go?
Yeah, hold on. I got to find out what I picked. Let me see what I picked here. I know it was the Astros and who are the Astros playing? I got to find it. There it is. Boom. Joe Ryan in Minnesota, over 5.5 punch outs for Joe Ryan. He punches out a lot of guys when he gets the pitch, and the Astros have been striking out this year. And over 7, just because Joe Ryan versus Hunter Brown. I mean, this has got 5-4, 6-5 written all over it. So there you go. Gets me to plus 200. And I like the plus in the plus big pluses. So that's why I went with this one.
Mm-hmm. Kratz, quick.
Oh, yeah. Cincinnati money line. Coming off at basically even money. I'm putting out 102 to win 100.
Wait,
we're twins today. We're twins today.
Know that.
I know.
Dude,
isn't that awesome?
Lodolo against Nestor Cortez is basically even money. What am I missing here? What am I missing?
The Brewers
counting on a bounce back from Nestor.
Well, I don't think Nestor's going to be awful. I just think they struggle against lefties. Lodolo's as nasty as they can be from lefties, and they struggle early. I thought about the under here, but I love the money line at even money, so give it to me. Gimme.
So you're not counting on the Reds torpedoing Nestor in this game? Get it?
No, they might.
That was my Kratz joke.
Good dad joke. Okay. Reds are going to bounce back offensively too.
Okay.
Hey, take a quick look at FOUL, the code that you should use if you're not a BetMGM account holder already. The app or the website, betmgm.com. Get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet loses when you sign up for a new account. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Woo! Get ready for this one. Grant McAuley joining us, super dialed in on the Atlanta Braves. Braves reporter for 92.9 The Game, host of his show From the Diamond, among other gigs as well. You can catch him all over the Atlanta scene. Grant, we spoke about a week ago. I was on your show, but since then, the Braves have lost 7 games on the West Coast to start their season. Where do we begin?
That's a great question. And I don't know that there's one correct answer for it either, because it seems like if it could go wrong, it has gone wrong, and then some for this Braves club. But they're not hitting. Obviously, that's a huge problem. It's hard to win games when you don't score runs. I think the pitching has some definite holes in it. The Reynaldo Lopez injury only makes that worse. And then you have the Jerickson Profar of it all. So as far as scripting or conjuring up the worst possible start for a club, oh, and by the way, you played two of the best teams in baseball as well out west, and you haven't been home in what feels like about 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is. Yeah, you could pretty much look at all these points and say it doesn't add up to anything good for the Braves.
You know what the good news is, though? Who do they play today? Or tomorrow, excuse me.
Nobody today, so they can't lose today.
Tomorrow.
So that's
well, also good news. But I'm talking about who do they play tomorrow?
Yeah, no, I know. The Marlins are coming into town. They'll have their home opener. Maybe that'll give them some extra juice. On the backside of that, though, you got the Phillies.
No, but listen, in 2016, we started 0-9. Guess who we beat to end the streak and not tie history? The Miami Marlins. So here we go. Here we go. Now they could lose 3 and get to 10. That'll be really bad. But no team has ever made the playoffs after starting 0-7. Certain people named Ken Rosenthal picked the Braves to win the World Series. I would never do that because that seems crazy now. But can they rebound enough to make a run at the playoffs? Because 0-7 is a large hole to dig out of.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think everybody's seen the stat now that no team has started 0-7 and then gone on to go to the playoffs. In fact, I've seen even more stats that only a handful of them, of the 28 teams that have ever started out 0-7 for a season, have even gotten over 500. So there's a steep hill to climb. There's no two ways about it. And I don't know how it slipped my mind. You were around for 2016. That was a club that was in the midst of trying to rebuild itself. Meanwhile, this is a club that, as you just pointed out, has World Series expectations, aspirations, and all of that is a very different scene for them. So can they rebound? Yes, because I think they're a more talented team than they're playing like. That's a pretty obvious statement. They're going to get Ronald Acuna Jr. back. They're going to get Spencer Strider back. They may have Sean Murphy back by next week. That could help as well. But they've got to start hitting. And I think that's been the real question year over year for this club. They pitched lights out a year ago. I think the pitching can be good this year, expecting it to be what it was last year, maybe a bit much. But you got Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Marcell Ozuna, Michael Harris, Ozzy Albies. You add Acuna back in there. Even without Profar, this lineup has serious teeth, but it has been, if you'll pardon the pun, pretty much toothless for much of this year, and that's just not going to play. Even getting up on the Dodgers in that finale, trying to avoid the 0-7, they still weren't really able to take advantage of all the opportunities that they had, and it ended up being pretty costly.
I know it's the lineup right now, not scoring runs, all that stuff. Maybe we'll get to the lineup. But do you feel like this pitching staff, when they built this team, whether it was ownership, denying them money to be able to build this pitching staff, do you feel like they kind of hoped they would do good? Or is this just another, the Braves always churn out, because this is what I said before, Braves always churn out pitching, no matter who it is. You can look in recent history, Schwellenbach, Smith Shawver, you have Bryce Elder was an all-star. I know he fell off some. Ian Anderson was the hero for the World Series. Were they just hoping, or do they really have a plan with what this pitching staff's going to be until Strider comes back?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously up for debate and critique at this point, because they went over the offseason, I think, knowing that they had some definite needs there. They pursued Jeff Hoffman. They backed out of that deal. I think the Orioles did as well. They turned their attention to Tanner Scott, who at least would have helped the bullpen that lost A.J. Minter, and Joe Jimenez may not pitch this year. So, that was kind of a double whammy. And then there really wasn't a plan C or plan D. And I know you're not trying to force deals and sign players to contracts that maybe you don't see the fit or it doesn't make sense, but is there nothing else out there? And I know it's hard to trade when your farm system has really been used a lot as trade capital the past few years, and you don't have the kind of prospects that you had a few years ago. But I think that's kind of the question that I would come back to is, was this a case of, at the start of the offseason, Alex Anthopoulos said, look, payroll's gone up every year that I've been here. We anticipate that could be the case this year again. We anticipate that. I don't know if expectation is the same thing as anticipation, but they got to be neighbors at least, and that just didn't happen. The Profar signing was, 2-3 weeks before spring training? So to that point, I think a lot of Braves fans were looking around wondering, are we going to do anything this offseason besides hope and besides wait on Ronald Acuna Jr. and Spencer Strider to get back? So, yeah, I think this is going to be an ongoing debate about what could have been done over the offseason. Why wasn't it done? Because the Braves, very profitable. The Battery is quite a popular scene and has helped them print money the past few years. You want to see that go back into the product. And even with a top 10 payroll, which they do have and they didn't always, there's still room to, I think, invest more in this club, despite having a great core signed up long-term. you're a move or two away from maybe putting this club over the top. And I think that's what's so difficult for people to look at and say, why wouldn't you do that?
We asked that about a lot of teams, Grant. Trust me, why wouldn't you do that? But the answer is nobody knows except for the owner. So I don't know. Maybe one day when you own a team, I can be your co-owner and we can make the moves that we want to make to try to make people happy. If that happens, it'd be awesome.
I'd love
it. We're talking pitching. You're talking pitching and the injuries and the pitching and when Strider come back. What about the offense? The offense has been awful. They weren't very good. Here's the thing. The offense wasn't great last year either. So this is now going on 2 years in a row after historic years of, these young guys coming out and playing and doing all these things. And then the last couple of years, the offense has been offensive and they haven't scored a lot of runs. And I did the game in San Diego. And at the time, I think they made it to like 1 for 30 something with runners in scoring position. Right. And they scored 5 runs last night, but they were all unearned. I believe they were all Dodger mistakes. So where's the offense? Where's Austin Riley? Where's Albies? I know Acuna's out, but where's Olsen? Where are these guys that they've been counting? Michael Harris, where the heck is he? These guys they've counted on for years. They built their core on. Where'd it go?
I think outside of Marcell Ozuna, it's pretty fair to question the last year plus of this club because they simply have not performed. Even before Acuna got hurt a year ago, he was having an incredibly down year. I think he had 2 home runs heading to the last week of May. That wasn't the guy that went 40-70, and he's not even back yet. So we'll put him in a box over to the side because he should make this club better. But Michael Harris, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, the list goes on. These are guys you expect to be run producers, and they weren't a year ago. And the Braves, they made this change at hitting coach, and you guys played. You've got a much more intimate look at how this stuff works. I'm sure changing the message and the voice and the delivery and looking into other things can be helpful, but I don't think you can lay it at the feet of the hitting coach and point at him and say, look, all these guys forgot how to hit, and it's your fault. I don't really know what the answer, though, is. Besides, I know that pressing is certainly natural. I talked to Austin Riley, Matt Olson, a few guys last year throughout the course of the season, and they said, look, we all want to be the guy that comes up with a hit, that wins the game, that wins the series, that turns our season around, but you can't do it every single at bat. You can't take that up there with you. I feel like they almost have to be kind of minimalist, if that's possible. I know this is a game that will just beat you down when you're carrying this around with you, but that, I think, as much as anything, is the problem because physically, they're in the prime of their career, so it doesn't really make any sense to watch everybody slump or fall off to this degree, to regress to this degree for as long as they have.
How much of a bummer is the Profar news, and what was your reaction when you saw that, as well as the reaction from Braves country? Because this guy had a ton of success last year. It was by far the best year of his life in baseball, and Braves fans don't have the connection to him. Padres fans fell in love with Profar last year, but it's not like Braves fans are going to be defending any iota of what just happened, right?
No, he doesn't have that kind of equity with this club. But I will say when he came in spring training, that first impression that everybody got of him was, hey, this guy's part of the solution. I know that the vibe that he brought to the club was energetic, was upbeat, was the kind of thing that you're feeling like, okay, we want to energize this club a little bit. We need somebody to help us out at leadoff with no Ronald Acuna Jr. And Alex Anthopoulos said this on the record several times when they identified hitters over the course of the winter that they liked. It was obviously Juan Soto and then a large gap. And then they felt like Jurickson Profar was maybe that guy to circle back to, depending on how his market shook out. They got that deal done. Clearly, I think there's some buyer beware when an over 30 player, breaks out or has that career year. And you kind of wonder, well, can he replicate that? But they felt like all the advanced metrics, the underlying data said, sure, we think he can. And a 3-year deal makes sense. And then something like this happens. And now I don't know what kind of player you're truly getting. And I think it's fair to question. And this has been going on for a long time. Jurickson Profar is not the only guy that's gotten himself into this kind of hot water. But I don't know really, if there's a way to get over this very quickly. It's going to be a very steep hill for him to climb to kind of win back the club that he hasn't been a part of for very long. But yeah, I think for fans watching a club, struggle to score as much as this team did, and then lose a guy that's supposed to be part of the fix for this team, it's an extra level of frustration that I don't think they're going to get over anytime soon.
Because this is such a bad start, and I don't want to go too hard on the history, Grant, because we have 3 wildcard teams these days, so it's not impossible for the Braves to go 0-7 and then bounce back. You and I spoke about this. I said 2-5, maybe even 1-6 on this trip, and I'm like, I'm still not going to be worried. I am not too concerned yet. I'm with AJ. I think they could beat up the Marlins this weekend. My question is, though, do you think that they speed up the Ronald Acuna Jr. rehab process because they feel like they might have to get him back sooner to win a few extra games to sneak into the playoffs, right? I know it's super early, but these are 7 losses. And it's a very competitive National League. The Padres look like they're going to be better than many anticipated. The Giants look like they could be better than anticipated. These are all potential wild card contenders with Atlanta. So do you think that they will look at this and say, we're being so cautious with Acuna, but he is ready, so let's get his bat back in the damn lineup?
Yeah, I wish, or I think, and I'm sure that they wish, that there was a clearer path to bring him back, but your DH is Marcell Ozuna. He's your best hitter. I mean, do you dare maybe put him in the outfield some, which he, by the way, hasn't played in going on 2 years? Do you want to roll the dice and put him out there? What if something happens to Marcell and then he gets hurt? And now you're without Ozuna, and Acuna wasn't all the way back. So we could probably come up with a lot of what-if scenarios, but if that DH spot was open, I think they might be more open to that idea. But the fact is, they need him to come back and be the regular right fielder. He said physically he was 90-95% when he showed up for spring training, but he's just now looking to get cleared for the running drills he needs to do, more outfield work, and then obviously the rehab assignment. So to make a long story short as I can, I just don't see them pushing his timetable up by very much. But if he physically checks all the boxes and passes all the tests and feels like he's ready and he can make the team better, I think at that point you do have to kind of look around and say, okay, well, why not? Because the alternative is just kind of churning through a lot of 4th and 5th outfielder types. And I don't think that's going to help energize the offense the way that an MVP caliber player like Ronald Acuna Jr. certainly could, both on the field and also I think the momentum that he could bring with him to just kind of lift the spirits of this club at a time where they could very much use all that they can get.
Do you think Brian Snitker is going to be the manager again next year?
That's a really good question, and I've gotten that one a lot, and I've kind of wondered about it. I mean, next year would be 50 years in the Braves organization. Does he need that to cap it all off? No, but it's a nice round number. I kind of wondered if this might be his last year, just based on the last couple of seasons and how trying 2024 was. But then they got knocked out of the playoffs, and the first thing he said was, I can't wait to be back at spring training. And it's just who he is. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does decide at some point this year, especially if things kind of continue to spiral or go out of control, if he doesn't make that decision himself. But one more year, and beyond that, I think you're probably looking at that transitional period, and they're looking at a new, perhaps a new manager at that point. So I know that's a really long answer to say I don't know, but it's just hard to tell right now. I think that how this season plays out might inform that decision a lot for Brian Snitker at this stage in his life.
Grant, I asked him this on Saturday. I asked him, I said, hey, I was sitting with Snit and who I played for, and I said, hey, what do you think? And he gave the exact answer. I don't know, but I know this. He did say the 50 years does mean something. So you can say it doesn't mean anything. Why does it matter? But think about 50 years in one organization, the only organization Brian Snitker has ever known, 50 years with that organization.
Yeah, and think about this.
He's going to be part of the organization one way or the other, but he's been 50 years on the field with this organization. Not just 50 years in the organization, on a field. So I think that does mean something to him. Do I think it's enough to make him come back? I don't know. He also at the same time was like, I want to see my grandkids play and I want to spend time with my family. I've never got to travel. There's places I want to do, things I want to do. So I don't know, but I think in some capacity he'll make the 50 years, whether it's, special assistant or whatever it is, or manager. I think it's kind of going to be up to him, unless they go 0-162, which I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to happen. But think about the start for Brian Snitker as far as the managing coaching side is concerned. His playing career was just a few years, and then Hank Aaron calls him up and says, hey, we think a lot of you. Would you like to join our organization as a coach? I mean, that's how far back his history goes, how deep those roots are. Obviously, all the time he spent under Bobby Cox, he's managed or coached at virtually every level and every affiliate the Braves have had for that 50 years or played there. So I would think that 50 is pretty meaningful for him. But, I know he does love being a grandfather, a husband, and, like everybody, he'd probably like to take a vacation when it's warm outside. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's true. Grant, great to have you as always. And we'll see if things improve this weekend for the Bravos. Check out Grant on Twitter and follow all of his shows and everything that he does at Grant McAuley on Twitter. Thank you, Grant.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
Yes. All right, FT fam. Also, of course, we've got Hammer Territory for you, the Brave Show. Find it wherever you find your shows, your pods, the whole deal. We'll swing right back to talk about the Phillies show and some fresh quotes from their owner, John Middleton, who just appeared live on their live show at the ballpark a couple hours ago. Okay, AJ, we have media
Yes.
members taking photos in the Trop, and it looks broken.
It looks like what you would expect it to look like if there was no roof on it. I mean, I drove by. I posted a picture of when I drove by it when we were in spring training, and it looked like that without the roof from the outside. But there's something when we went to the Rays. I was asking some of the people about it, and they said, the problem is every time it rains, more stuff gets wet and more water seeps into places they hadn't found before. So first thing they got to do is put a roof on that bad boy before they even start about thinking about playing there possibly next year. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's crazy that they're going to sink money back into that thing.
What else are they going to do? They're not going to play at Steinbrenner Field.
You had 20 years to figure this out. 20 years. And you know what finally happened, Kratz? Mother Nature hit and was like, too late. You guys should have put everybody in a safer, newer, fresher spot. You had 20 freaking years. I can't believe that this has gone so long for both of these teams. It's still hard to fathom that we're actually here. We've got 2 minor league parks. Obviously, it looks like a shell of itself back at the Trop. If I was commissioner, and this was what the commissioner was made for in the past, not to be, a bootlicker and just do whatever everyone says. In the past, when it initially was created, it was so that you could make decisions and not be listening to that one person, right? You would say, hey, you've got 5 years to figure this out. Otherwise, penalties are coming. That is what the role was created for. So the fact that they're maybe going to pour public money back into that place instead of a new place, and people are going to have to go to that again, is insane. That looks like an ancient artifact of a place where it's like apocalypse years from now or something, and people are going to be like, was this the Coliseum?
There used to be actual fish in right field. There was a pool here. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you that like the storm ripped the roof off. Should they have fixed it to the point where the roof was better? Yeah, maybe, but I mean there was a lot of damage in that storm. They have to figure it out though. And they're going to get a lot more rain. The summer it rains all the time, so they're going to figure out where the water's coming in from. But it's just a crazy thing to think about. Like everything inside is supposed to be inside. They didn't like, oh, well, we better weatherproof this so in case we get rain. No, there might be like a leak or something from the roof. It's coming in.
The roof was not made to last for that long. It was paper mache. A new place would have held.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. You got to come back hungry and hungrier every year. And everybody knows that an athlete's career is short. Mm-hmm. That there's been, this is now the 4th year, and that's a pretty big chunk of a pro athlete's career. Unless you're 22 years old and you think, well, I can do this forever. But most of these guys aren't, and they realize that they're closer to the end than they are to the beginning. And I think that's a great motivation for players. What I do see, though, I think this team, Ruben, is because of the strength of the pitching staff, and if you look at like 10 and 11 in particular, I think those two teams, and especially 11, were really driven by their pitching staffs. And, I mean, as Dave Dombrowski has said, whenever you have when you can put a matchup out there that generally favors you, 162 games every night, you're gonna win an awful lot of games. I mean, they may not be perfect, but they are strong and they can go deep into the games. They could go deep in the season, and I think that's where if you combine the motivation of the 80 team with this team, and you look at the kind of the way these A11 and this team are comprised, the way that Ruben organized his 11 team and the way Dave has organized this team. I think those two teams are more similar in their composition, where their strengths lay, right? And frankly, where some of their weaknesses are.
All right, so that's John Middleton, really good on the Phillies show earlier today with our hosts Ruben Amaro, Jim Salisbury, and Todd Zalecki. I want to give you one more, okay? One more bite from him as they asked him about the National League competition, the Dodgers, the whole deal. So we'll run that, then we'll react quick after because he gave us a nice meaty answer. Here it is.
But look, if you want to win the World Series, whether they're in the American League or the National League West or the National League East, you're going to have to beat them at some point in time. To be the best, you have to beat the best. And so it's difficult because the financial resources that the Yankees have, the Mets have, and the Dodgers have is just significantly more than other people. In fact, Hal Steinbrenner is quoted as saying, we're at a huge disadvantage compared to the Dodgers. So that gives you a sense of where how perceives the competition and where he stands. But I'll also remind people that I think it was starting in 1981 that the Yankees had the highest payroll in baseball for 15 consecutive years, and they never managed to win the Eastern Division title and make the postseason. So it's not just about money. It's about having the right players and developing them and keeping them healthy. And as Pat Gillick loved to say, having the luck that you have 25 healthy players playing at the best of the game at precisely the right moment in time. So, that's why you play 162 games and then you play, 5 and 7 game series, because you don't win it on paper, you don't win it in the off season, and you don't win it in the media talk rooms. You win it on the field. So
the beginning of this, Kratz, was them saying, hey, you've got the Dodgers coming to town this weekend. He's like, yeah, we beat them in both series last year. And he essentially was like, look at the scoreboard. It wasn't even that close.
He's a confident person. But he exudes that because he wants that out of his team. He wants that in all the relationships that he's in. Like, he's like, just go out and do it. Stop being like, his message to the team was, be adaptive. Be adaptive. And he didn't say, hey, stop striking out on breaking balls or chasing this, or he said, be adaptive. You have to figure out how to learn how to pitch better, hit better, field better, one day at a time. He's a top 3 owner right now.
Yep, that was great passion from him.
Why didn't he compare it to the 08 team? Why is he talking about 11? 11 didn't win anything. Let's talk about the 08 team. He should be like, I want to be like the 08 team.
The pitching staff.
He hit on the 08 team a little bit, just about how talented they were, but it was built different. He was talking about how this team was built like the 11 team, built on pitching. The 5 aces they had.
We can do it here because I want to do the other topic for the TV crowd as well. Kratz hats?
Taking on the Brewers today. The old MB. Every time I wear it. MB.
Do you know that every time you do that, somebody learns about the MB hidden inside the logo?
That's why I'm doing it. I'm teaching. I'm learning. We're learning. We're all learning together.
Very educational. Very good. Hey, it's Thursday. If you're looking at matchups, there's only 2 games tonight. So you can either watch and root for the Reds if you're not a fan of the Brewers, because Kratz and me picked them to win with Lodolo over Cortez, or the Yankees and Diamondbacks finish up their series. I bet on every game today. So I bet Phillies, all money lines, because they were pretty close, all of them. Phillies, Astros, Reds, Red Sox, Diamondbacks. I just looked and I'm like, pitching edge in all of those, in my mind, clear. They're obviously you're going to probably get, 1 or 2 of those to lose at least, but I just felt like, Kelly versus Carrasco, Houck versus Morton. Taijuan Walker was more the sneaky one where you're like, all right, this guy did probably fix some things. Used to be good, taking on the Rockies. Hunter Brown. Joe Ryan's good. Hunter Brown. Oof, he can shut you down for a day. I'm just previewing the games because you're not saying anything.
Well, you were just rambling about how you bet.
You
have
talked about all the games.
I was just worried about your shoulder getting sore from patting yourself on the back.
How's Tottenham doing against Chelsea? We covered all the baseball, so
hasn't kicked off yet. Kicks off shortly.
Okay. The pitch is looking beautiful today.
Yes. They got the Tottenham Hotspur action against Chelsea. The Chelsea Chiselers.
Cookie Carrasco. Cookie needs to have a good start. He needs to step up for the Yankees and not get swept by the third best team in the National League.
By the way, we were talking about Sacramento's attendance. Check out the Rays. Sold out all 3 games.
Let's slap. Anything the Yankees do kind of goes viral these days. No, that's not torpedo juice. That's bone broth in the dugout. And people are like, really, bone broth? You know what I was thinking? AJ, tomorrow every big league team and every little league team is going to have it in their dugout.
You know what's funny is every team already has this in their dugout. So it's not a story. It's not a story. Not a story. Not a story. Either bone broth. Why bone broth? Because it's easy on the stomach. It's hot and it goes into you when it's cold. Or we used to have like chicken noodle soup, and it was basically they take all the chicken and the noodles out of it. So you basically had chicken broth. So you wouldn't get a full stomach, but it would warm you inside. Yep. And you'd see the trainer would come up to you with a cup and be like, are you that cold? You need chicken broth or bone broth or whatever. So this is nothing new. It's been happening for years. The coolest thing I ever saw to fight the cold, though, and I didn't know this until Paul Konerko taught me, take Vaseline, put it all over your body, closes the pores, it keeps you warm. You don't have to wear sleeves. I didn't believe it. I never tried it, but yeah, I'd take his word for it. Because I hate the cold weather.
She uses Vaseline. Yep.
I don't know that song. But there was a good comment to our tweet. Oh, Weird Al. Dick Peters on Twitter goes, imagine striking out and going back to the dugout for a nice warm bowl of soup while you watch your tablet. It just sounded funny. It's like
pulling it and watching it. It got cold there. You could see everybody's breath in the game.
What's up? We're back for a few. Yes.
Schwarbomb.
Did we get one?
Schwarbomb. Yep, he just hit one.
AJ, you're on the scene or close enough down there. Are people excited about the Rays being in Tampa versus being in St. Petersburg? I think they're going to do really well in attendance because I think Tampa is excited and they're going to send a message. Hey, this is where it belongs if you're keeping it in this area. I genuinely feel that way. I mean, I'm going off social media, but a lot of people seemed pretty excited to be able to get to the game in 20 minutes versus an hour and 20 minutes.
So I was over in the area last Thursday night, right almost across the street from the stadium. First of all, they've sold out the first 3 games. 10,046 apparently is the capacity. They've sold out all 3 games against the Pirates that they've had there. I mean, the last 3 games at least. And I think they sold out the first 3 against the Rockies. So they've sold out all 6 games they've had there, okay? Which is amazing. The capacity is 10,046. But the coolest thing to me, or the most crazy thing to me, is they covered up all the Yankees stuff everywhere. Like you're driving down Del Mabry there, and you know it's all covered, except for one thing. On the back of the stadium that faces Del Mabry, it says Rays Baseball. There's a giant sign that says, "Thank you, Yankees." Like it's like the first thing you see is "Thank you, Yankees." I'm like, wait, what are we doing here?
It's the Rays. The Rays are thanking the Yankees for letting them borrow their house.
I know
for
that,
a little bit.
But it's just crazy. Like that's like you see the Rays, and then right underneath there's a giant sign that says "Thank you, Yankees." But listen, the people I know, I have family that lives in Tampa. They're way more excited to go to games because 1, it's outside. 2, it's closer. They live in the area. A lot of people live in that area. It's way better. You can grab something to eat right there. Del Mabry has everything you could want. It's got even spaceships for you, and you can go right down there and you can grab your food. You can go to the game, watch the game right there, and you can get home without having to cross a causeway. It's great.
I don't need spaceships.
No, you have to know the area, Scott. Don't even go there. Don't go at it. You have to know the area.
Google it, Scott. You'll get it.
Yeah, don't. It'll mess up your queue. Don't do it.
It's a famous landmark in Tampa. The spaceship on Dale Mabry is a famous. It is a famous. Google it. It's a famous landmark because the spaceship was part of this extensive housing unit where they put spaceships and they were selling them. Flying saucers. It's true.
It says it's a great spot for food.
See?
See ya Friday.
By the way, it's Kipnis' birthday. You guys didn't even mention it.
Oops,
Happy birthday, Jay Kip!
We bought you fireworks digitally.
Digital. I hope you like them.